Hello everyone, this is Rifa and welcome to another creative video. So today's video is about how I did my recent typography painting series. So you might have seen my recent marine typography that I shared on Instagram, which was for my calendar 2024 calendar. So I just got a lot of appreciation for that one, so I just thought of doing a series and I have put a story on what should I try next to suggest some words, and I've got lots of suggestions like sunset, nature, so I just thought of doing a series. So I just picked one from those suggestions, which was beach, sunset and heaven. So I just thought of doing beach first and I went for watercolors for this one. So the marine was did in gouache, and so I just thought of trying watercolors and I just did a random sketch of my beach typography and started with a very warm sky. So this is my reference. I just thought of incorporating both sunset and beach into a single one. So yeah, this is it, a warm sunset beach. So just added some linear clouds, you could say that, and there is a bright sun which is setting, and since it is very bright I need a very warmth around it, so I just added cadmium yellow around it. So for the sun I used gouache because it was completely covered with yellow, and then I went for the sea, which is a reflection of this sunset sky, this warm sky. So of course I filled it with a pretty much warmer shade completely. And then there is two little waves here. So for the waves, it's the shadow that we are adding. So this shadow gave shape to the wave. So for the shadow I used red violet. The colors that I am using is from 2V Arts and the sketchbook is from Factor Notes. So I will just drop all the links to the materials in the description. You can check them out. And also for the brushes also. So I just added more and more contrast to the wave because this single thing defines the sea, and using the same color with a very light wash I just added details to that wavy effect of the sea just by adding very small lines using the detailing brush. So I always use such kind of details in my ocean paintings. You can see how these details make your sea more visible. And then I have added a little more details by using the same shade. So I just made that shade a little more concentrated and just added little details here and there. So I'm not showing the entire process because it will be a very lengthy video. So then I went for a little highlights using gouache and also for the sun. Look how I make that sun more bright. So I'm just working with the surroundings of the sun to make it more bright because I'm making that warmer tone a bit more darker and vibrant so that our sun will be more bright and visible. I've also added some little clouds here and there, and then there is a man holding this sea skating board. So I'm just planning to make that overlap the font that I am painting, so it will look more interesting. I have done these overlapping objects in my marine typography also. You can check them out on Instagram. For this I have used the shade brown, and since I am using watercolors you can see how my sketch is visible even after painting above it. So that's why I just went for watercolors first. So I just added more contrast and warmth and then went for the background. So this time I chose black for the background because in my marine typography I have maintained the white background. It is pretty difficult to maintain the white background because the masking fluid didn't came off as I expected, and it entirely ruined the texture and the edges of my typography. So I just went for a darker color this time. So I just can fill this color at the end in my entire page. And I also love how this yellow look more vibrant with a black background. And at the end I just added a little more details for our overlapping object with some little highlights. So yeah, this is how the beach typography went, and I'm so satisfied. The next suggestion I chose was for forest, and I thought of doing it with gouache this time. So I just did a rough sketch of my font first, which is vertical, and then I just went for applying a green shade all over the font, and then I started adding the trees. So I just thought of doing a little tree background and a few little grass and rocks overlapping the font. And while doing the gouache, you should start with a very light consistency, a very loose consistency, and then you increase the thickness or the consistency of the medium in each layer. So that's how we work with gouache. Maybe I should do a tutorial for how to start with gouache for beginners. What do you guys think? So if you would like to see that, please drop that in the comments. So maybe I can do a little separate video for the gouache, every basics about the gouache. I think it will be very nice. So then I just added a dark green shade for wherever I wanted the leaves and bushes, and then just went for a pretty much darker shade to fill in the rest. So this is not black that I am applying now, it's a very dark green. So it just looked like black at some places, but it's not black. So I just wanted this dark background in between the trees, and I haven't used the black because I'm planning to do the black for the background of the font. So if I use black here also, so it will look odd when the painting is finished. And then I just added some foliage with light green shade by using my tapping method. So at this point I'm very nervous because I just can't see my sketch now. So I don't know how I'm going to fill the background at the end. Maybe I'll have to redraw that font again, and it will be very hard because I may ruin this painting when I sketch. Let's see what I will do. Let me finish the painting first and then think about the fonts, I think. So I just went for a highlighting details again. Just added a very warm green and went for this tapping method again. So you might have noticed that I use this technique for almost all of my trees and bushes. So this look very natural and it's so therapeutic. So I just love this technique in my paintings. I even use this technique in watercolor paintings as well. Once I finished that, I went for adding a little contrast. So I just added some dark green detailing in between these highlights because I just felt like it's very pale. I just felt that my bushes are very pale. So yeah, this might make it more natural and contrasting. And once I finished that, then I went for highlighting the trees. So I just used a little yellow ochre to the brown and then added these highlights at the right side of each trees. I love this step where we add highlights because you can see how highlights give that value to the subjects. So I just added a little bit more lighter shade again. So this is how it works. The detailing makes sense in painting. And then I just added more shadows at the opposite side using a very dark brown. So now I just think the trees are perfect. So this is how we do painting. We just work with highlights and shadows again and again until we get that finished look or until we are satisfied with what we have got. So I just went for the bushes again. I just added little highlights here and there. So these little foliages are very pretty in every paintings, and then I just added little dark details here and there. So working with the shadows again, I am not at all satisfied. It takes a lot of details to get that finished bushes and trees. Here sometimes I do these steps again and again. I add more details. Sometimes I overdo these details, but I think in this one it's needed. And at last I went for the ground. I added a warm green and also made a rough base for the rocks and the bushes that are supposed to be overlapping my font. So I just love this overlapping technique. It makes this font interesting, so I just tried to maintain this overlapping in all of my typography series. And then I went for the grass, added a little lighter details of the grass with my detailing brush. So yeah, I use a single detailing brush for doing the grass. I just love doing it with a smaller brush. I don't know why. And maybe because I'm used to it. I don't know. So I just added little details for the bushes, and I just thought that I should do the details at the end. So I just did a very light wash in the background first, because while doing the beach I just noticed that some of the strokes are being visible. So thought of adding a light wash first, and then I will fill the entire background with a darker shade, a very thick consistent shade. So yeah, this step is very tricky. You have to be very careful. Once you ruin the font, you won't get back, because if I was using acrylics, I might be much more confident even if I make any mistakes. But in the case of gouache and watercolors, I don't know. It's very limited that how you can fix a mistake. So I'm being very careful and I'm filling every background around this font. So this is very much interesting as well. You can see how these fonts take shape while you fill the entire background with a darker shade. It's so satisfying yet tricky. Once I'm done with the background, I went for the overlapping objects. I detailed them. I added highlights and shadows to the bushes, to the rocks. So for the bushes I added dark green shadows, and for the rocks I added dark grey shadows and light grey highlights. And for showing the ground difference, I just added some dark green details there, and done. That's how the typography forest looked like. Next I picked the word deer. So again I went for gouache, because the deer I'm planning to paint is in a snowscape, so there are a lot of light shades. The entire painting is going to be in a light shade, so I think my font will be still visible after painting about it. So I just went for gouache and I started with the trees first, because since all other things are snow, it's obviously going to be white. So I just chose the color of the paper to be the color of the snow. So what I planned was to draw two deer in a snowy background and to make these two deers overlap my font. So I just thought it would be interesting. So I just did a lot of trees in the background. So the distant trees, I choose lighter shades for the distant trees, so you can just get that illusion of the distance. So I know this video is pretty long and I don't think it would be that much boring because I have shown 3 different typography paintings. So I guess it won't be that boring, you guys will enjoy it. So if you guys want single video tutorial for single typography, please do comment that, because I want to know about your suggestions, what you guys would like to see. Also, I am planning to do a few more of these typography series. So if you have any word suggestion that I should try next, please drop them in the comments. Also, please do suggest the video ideas that you would like to see. Like if you have any art challenges that I want to try and you would like to watch, you can drop them also in the comments. So please be free to drop any suggestions, any doubts in the comments. And I've added little dark brown details for the trees and also added some branches and little foliages using my detailing brush. So I would like to focus more on these 2 trees which are in the front. So I just added a warm brown shadows. So I just added these folds like structure on the trees using some lines and also few branches leaning towards the ground. I just tried to maintain these little branches on there with some little foliages. So I'm not adding straight lines for the shadows, I just added some very textured lines to indicate that texture of the trunk. And next I went for the snow. So for snow paintings we usually use a cool grey color to indicate the shadow of the snow. So I just did that layer first. I just added some patches of snow on the trunks of the trees, also on the distant trees, and some little shadows of the trees on the ground using the same shade, a very light shadows of the trees on the ground. And I forgot to add the branches for the front tree, so I just added some detailed branches and some foliages. I have used my Himi detailing brushes from Toy Arts for such details. They are pretty handy in such details. I've also added some light branches to show them like they are showing in the background. And then I just added the highlights of the snow by using white. And I have also added some snow sprinkles using white and just added little warm touch by adding some medium yellow tones on the trunks. So at the end I just worked with the contrast and shadows. So for the background I again did a very light wash first so that there won't be any brush strokes after drying. And I have chose a different color for the background. I just wanted something different from black, so I just thought of doing it in blue because my deer is going to be in orange, so complementary to orange the blue would look more vibrant. so I just went for the Prussian blue to fill the background. So I just did a very light wash of the Prussian blue first, and then went for a very thick creamy kind of consistency for the background, and I just painted around my font. So since my painting was in very light shades, I can see those fonts even after painting. So I just thought of doing the overlapping objects at the end. So I went for the deers at the end. I started with a medium yellow mixed with a little bit of orange kind of tone for my deer, and so for the inner part of the deer it will be like something like ivory or cream color. So I'm not making this a very realistic one because I don't want it to be that much realistic. I just want it to be a minimal, but still I'm adding a little more details, shadows and highlights, because I don't want it to look more flat or two-dimensional. So I just added little black details on the ears and some shadows. Also I have added little dots. I just love these dotted deer. So this is how my typography series went. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I know it was a little bit longer one, but I hope it was still interesting. So thank you for watching and see you in the next video. Bye.